Good Friday morning, Delaware. Welcome to Off the Shelf. We're so happy to be here with you this morning. Thank you, Mark, for joining us on the board.
Heck, absolutely.
How's your morning been?
Well, not bad.
Well, that's great.
Even better now.
How sweet. Mark and I are allowed to text each other now, so
That's right.
don't
Mark,
tell my husband.
just know
No.
you started that.
I know. You'll get privileges one of these days, too,
One
Molly.
of these days.
Keep up the
I
good
send
work.
a lot of memes.
Yeah,
I love
exactly.
those. Love
And
that.
that's my lovely co-host, Molly Meyer-Labadie. Good morning, Molly.
Good morning, Nicole.
And joining us this morning, we have a new member of the Delaware County District Library, Miss Lisa Kaufman. She is our, Delaware Assistant Branch Manager and Adult Services, Youth Services Supervisor.
Almost.
Man,
I started to give you the thumbs
I know,
up,
I was,
and
and then
I'm regretting
I
the thumb had
flubbed
to go
it.
down.
Sorry. Good morning, Lisa.
Good morning.
This is the end of your second week, is that right?
correct.
Wow.
Yes.
We just love to throw our friends into the trial by fire. But you know what? I was training Lisa last week on a couple of things, or this past week on a couple of things. And I said, we should get you on radio at some point. And she said,
Yes.
after COVID, I'm game for literally anything.
Lisa, you're going to fit in well here. You're going to fit in real well here.
So we are going to have a great show. We're going to talk. We're going to meet Lisa. If you're a listener and you're in the Delaware area, you're going to get to come in and meet her in person at some point. And but we're going to start out like we normally do and talk books.
I love talking books.
I love talking books, too. Molly, you said that you finished one by our upcoming Friends author visit, Miss Joyce Maynard. Mm-hmm.
Yes, and
Yeah.
if you were listening last week, we were talking to her on air.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm now 2 books in. This
Nice.
one is The Good Daughters by Joyce Maynard. I love how I just said what we just said. Okay. I'm in repeat mode today, everybody. Repeat mode.
That's okay. I was pretty sure I was not well in the brain earlier this week.
I'm
It's
still
fine.
waking up here. So this is a really interesting story because it is the story of 2 girls, really. It starts with a rainstorm, a really heavy rainstorm, and a husband who's excited to get home to his wife. Once he gets home to her, things happen, and then about 9 months later, our main characters show up.
Ta-da!
2 girls born on the exact same day in the exact same hospital to very, very different families. One is a farm family. This is the family that you're going to really follow throughout here. It's a family of all girls with no one to leave the farm to and no real interest in that farming. And the other family is a family that's artistic. But for some unknown reason, the mother of the farm family is absolutely obsessed with connecting these 2 birthday sisters. They don't really like each other. But there are some interesting things going on because though Ruth, who is the sister who lives on the farm, or the girl who lives on the farm, though she can't stand her birthday, sister, she's really interested in her brother. And there's this natural connection between the 2 of them. And as they're growing up, you're sort of seeing everything go on in the 70s. So you've got Joyce Maynard's gift of telling you what's happening in the world around her. You get to Woodstock, you're learning, the day JFK dies, all that information's happening. So you're following through that family. And then at Woodstock, she runs into that brother. Ruth runs into the brother again. And you can tell they're starting to fall in love. And then as she gets older, she and he run away to an island in Canada. He's avoiding the draft and fall in love. And they don't get married, but they just live in the best life they could possibly have. It is their dream. And she gets pregnant and she calls her mother, and her mother shows up and everything's destroyed.
Oh, no.
And the whole time, the other birthday girl is growing up in a family where she just never feels like she fits. Nothing's ever working well. And as she grows older, the whole family has mental health issues. The parents aren't there. They move around all the time. And she's discovering, as much as her mother keeps buying her Barbies, she's not going to be playing with Barbies. And she's not really going to be interested in boys as she gets older either. And in this time frame, in this setting, everything starts changing in her life, and she starts getting connected to the farming father who has all girls who have no interest in his farm. And so sort of the story, there are a lot of twists and turns as you go in. Joyce is really good at this. Again, it starts heavy. Joyce likes to start heavy, and I'm going to give everybody a little bit of a warning. I think I told everybody in 2020, I lost my father to ALS, also known as Lou Gehrig's disease. If you have this in your family, this does pop up in this story. I don't want to tell you how. It's an important plot point. But if you are a little bit like me, and I probably
don't need to read about it because you experienced it.
Yeah. And I wasn't really expecting it. I want to kind of know that I'm walking into a story that's going to have ALS. So just a little bit of a trigger warning if anybody has that experience in your life. It's in there. It's trying to be a really beautiful story. You're going to be a little more critical of it if you're like me. But it actually, this is Good Daughters, wonderful story, really good twists and turns. I feel like I should have predicted the ending, but I didn't predict the ending.
Nice.
So enjoy yourselves. It's another great Joyce Maynard. And then once you read it, come and ask her questions.
Right. She'll be here on July 10th
Yes.
with the Friends of the Library. Tickets are going fast.
I've already got mine.
I don't know where the last count was, but as of last week, it was about 50 of the 70 were sold. So this will be held at the Dempsey Event Center. Here in Delaware County on 23 and Hyatt's. And so you won't want to miss it. You can get your tickets at DelawareLibraryFriends.org.
Can't wait. I'll see y'all there.
Yeah. Well, Lisa, I said all you have to do to prep for today is to know a little bit about yourself, which I feel like you do, and to have a book. So do you have a book that you want to tell us about?
I do. I brought a book that I read recently that I really loved. It's for middle grade fiction. So for those of you who don't know what that means, I would say geared towards 10 to 14, though also amazing for adults. It's called No Place Like Home, written by James Bird.
Ooh.
And it is a story about two brothers, one who is about 12 and the other who is an older teenager. And they are indigenous and they live in a transient lifestyle with their mom in their car.
Ooh.
And it's about how basically they go from city to city, picking up work, coming in and out of schools. And the brothers do not have a great relationship. They fight. And the younger brother is really just starting to realize that maybe this whole transient life is not a great adventure. And that's how his mom has sold it to him. And his brother has already realized that and is acting out because of it. And meanwhile, his mom, each time they settle someplace, maybe this is the place we're going to come. This is the place we're going to settle. This is the place that's going to be it. And it never is. And in the background of this is his mom has dealt with a lot of prejudice, and racism, and she is dealing with that and trying not to put it on the kids, but they're getting it too. So the story is just amazing. It's about family. It's about what life brings, and what tears families apart also brings them together. I highly recommend it for anybody who just wants a good read. It's not super long, so if you want something to read over the weekend, this is it.
Oh, that's great. It's
Excellent.
called No Place Like Home by James Bird.
Correct.
And Molly, yours was The Good Daughters
Correct.
by Joyce
Maynard.
Nice. Well, I kind of prefaced when I was giving Molly and Lisa a little tip about what we were going to talk about this morning. I said, I don't have a good book, but I have a good story.
I am really curious. I want to know the story. I love a good story.
So my eldest daughter is experiencing her very first kind of summer activity camp, and it's drama camp. And so this Mama Drama's heart is very happy. And they are doing Annie Kids, and they were given their scripts like the last week of school to get familiar with them. They watched all the Annie movies because there are several of them now. And then you could audition for a lead part. But my little actor actually probably wants to be more stage crew, behind the scenes help. But she still had to do some on-stage things because that's part of the experience.
Yeah.
And so she's learning some of the things, and she got cast into the orphan chorus, which she's very excited about. She's like, that's what I wanted. I was like, great, because she gets to sing Hard Knock Life, and she gets to sing, other pieces that the radio part for the Never Fully Dressed Without a Smile.
Oh, I love that one.
And so she's very excited about those things. But she said, Mom, I have to develop my character. And I said, okay, what was your assignment? And she said, well, I have to come up with a name and a backstory for why I was in the orphanage. And I said, okay, do you have any ideas? Do you want to workshop it? We talked about what that meant.
I can see like just the joy in your face getting to do this.
I am the biggest nerd mom, but I was like, I've reached my moment. And so she said, well, I don't have any great ideas for a name. And I said, well, let's do some research. Do you know when Annie in the musical, what time period it takes place? And she's like, it's 1933 New York City. And I was like, great. And so do you know how old Annie is and when she was dropped off? And she said, yeah, she would have been dropped off in 1922 because she's 11. She's done her research. I was like, good girl.
Nice.
So I was like, well, let's go to the internet. Let's look and see what some popular names were for children born in 1922. So we look them up, and we look up, of course, there's your Marys, your, Margarets, all the different names kind of that time period.
So librarian.
I said, do any of these speak to you? And she said, yeah. And number 24 on the list was Louise, which is her middle name. And she's like, oh, I kind of like that, And so we found some other ones that she kind of liked too. And then she's like, okay, now why would I be an orphan? And I was like, well, there's lots of reasons, why this happened to people. I said, sometimes it was deaths. People died young and just, father had died and then mother died and then there's no family nearby. And sometimes it's an accident. Sometimes there were major world events that had things like that happen. So then she was like, well, what was a major world event in 1922 in New York City? And I was like, let's look it up. Or not a major world event, but a major event, in 1922 New York City. So we found a little known story that I could not find any other information on besides like the Wikipedia page. Did you know? In 1922 in New York City, there were the Straw Hat Riots of 1922.
I have heard of the Straw Hat Riots.
Yeah, of course you have. You're such a nerd.
I'm such a nerd. I hear nerd screaming in my ear right now.
Okay, for our listeners who don't know, the Straw Hat Riots of 1922 in New York City were a fashion faux pas. It was much like not to wear white after Labor Day. It was men did not wear straw hats after September 15th in New York City. It was a fashion faux pas. You did not do this. And if somebody did wear their straw hat after September 15th, there was much to be said about it. And apparently in 1922, it got a little too out of hand. And this led to an 8-day riot. I kid you not.
Nice.
And next time you say the world is just being weird right now, please remember that the Straw Hat Riots happened.
The Straw Hat Riots took place because of a fashion faux pas of people who weren't going to take being told that they should not wear their straw hat after September 15th in 1922.
Yeah.
Mark, I am expecting to see you on September 16th in a straw hat.
I'm a rebel. Totally.
So, of course, my daughter and I are talking about, like, could this be, like, how your parents, maybe met their end? I was like, oh, was your father, was he on the side of wearing the hat? Was he on the side of not wearing the hat? And then he's off to be part of the riots, and your mother says, no, John, darling, don't. and she's like, no, I don't think that's it. And I said, okay.
Good try.
I really was. And so I said, okay, what is it? And she said, well, what if my parents were on a date and they were walking by where a riot broke out?
Is she going to be Batman?
And then they were collateral damage, and then they were innocent bystanders. And I was like, oh my, that's so much more tragic than what I had proposed.
I love it.
I know, right? And so I think that's where we're
She's
kind of
going to be Batman.
She is. And then the baby's dropped off at the orphanage and knows Annie, maybe Daddy Warbucks, it's just...
She'll meet Robin.
It's going to be wonderful.
I have my own story now. It's going real far.
That's kind of my fun story about having fun with my daughter and her character development, and using the internet, using research, using what we know. I did try and find books. I might just have to write a children's book about the Straw Hat Riots.
Yeah, I don't think I've read any children's books. Yeah.
But that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So stay tuned. We're going to talk with Lisa about her new position at the Delaware Main Library, and so we will see you soon.
67 now, uptown Marysville. Same thing, downtown Delaware. Back to Off the Shelf with Nicole and Molly now on My 96.7.
Off the shelf. We're off our rockers.
Yes.
All the
We're
time.
I mean, it is fun, fun, fun here this morning. If you are just now tuning in, you missed a really good story about the Straw Hat riots of 1922.
It was fantastic. Literally has made my day. Like, this is going to be a great day.
It's gonna be the best day.
I'm going to go find a straw hat now.
I know. I love discovering fun things in history. We are back. We are here. It's Nicole. It's Molly. It's Mark. And our guest this morning is Lisa Kaufman. She is our new Assistant Branch Manager of the Delaware Main Library and Supervisor of Youth Services. We're so happy to have you here.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Wonderful. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself, Lisa, and let the public get to know you.
Well, this is the end of week 2.
We are so excited to
Delaware
have
County
you.
Library. Prior to that, I came from working at the Westerville Public Library.
Okay. Thanks, Westerville.
Yeah.
I know. Thank you. Sorry, we did steal her.
I've also worked. I worked for almost a decade with Barnes & Noble in a variety of positions, and I was an elementary school teacher before that.
Such a cool experience.
It is. I like books and I like people, so the library is the perfect world for me.
That's a great combination of things. Yeah. So when did you, along your journey, when did you decide, I might need to do something with a library degree and get into libraries?
So I have been a library person my whole life. I went to the library every week growing up, and I volunteered. I was a teen volunteer from the time I was 12 to basically when I graduated high school.
Nice.
And there was I grew up in Reynoldsburg, and my contact at the Reynoldsburg Library often asked me, "Are you going to become a librarian?" And I was like, "No."
Goodness, no.
And I was like, "I'm going to be a teacher." So I became a teacher, and that didn't work out for me. And I was like, I don't know what I want to do. And I was working at Barnes & Noble all the time because I like books and people. And I went to visit her, and she's like, "Have you thought about becoming a librarian?" And I was like, maybe I should. And because it, combines a lot of, especially if your focus is youth services, a lot of educational techniques and kind of the educational know-how, but kind of none of the bad parts or the stressful parts of education, because you kind of get to be less regulated and what you're not teaching in a classroom.
Right.
So, went into youth services. I have a background in management. I, like anybody of any age, helping people grow. So that's kind of led me to here.
It's a fun little toolbox that you were building yourself of customer service experience and books and knowledge and teacher. And I love the story of, kind of a mentor type figure, just kind of coming back into your life and being like, I think you need to think about that again.
Yes.
I love it when they just keep looking at you like, I've always known.
Right.
I've always known you.
Yes. Now that you're almost 10 years older, and you're a little more settled in your knowledge of yourself.
Yeah.
You were right the whole time.
Yes.
So what are you looking forward to at the Delaware Main Library and with some of your staff who you get to play with every day now?
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to continuing to learn to get to know everybody, and both my new coworkers and the patrons that come into the building. That's my favorite part. And I'm looking forward to growing with the library. I know that Delaware itself has grown tremendously.
Yes.
I live in Fowles, so I can see it on a daily basis. So I'm looking forward to that and seeing various programs. Two of my coworkers, one has a middle grade program about surviving coming up.
That's right.
Yes.
Survival Island, which is right up my alley. I love stuff like that. And then there is a local kind of comic artist that's going to come in July. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that, and just kind of seeing how things go.
We have a lot of fun things happening.
We really do.
This summer, and you're coming in on the cusp of a cool time because the team is not only in the middle of the craziness that is Summer Reading Club, which continue your reading.
Yes.
You're doing great.
It's
but
not
also,
too late to register.
Yeah, you can keep you can keep reading. You can start today. You've got another month in front of you. But also they're already planning for fall. So how cool is that?
So cool. Now, Lisa, I have a question for you.
Okay.
Now, I know you're going to give a great reference interview for any kind of book, but what are the books that you just light up when a patron asks for them?
Ooh, I have several. Okay, so when it comes to youth services, I love middle grade. Any genre of, I would say, again, like that 9 to 12, 13 years old is my favorite things to read.
Perfect. I'm coming to you to find a Straw
yes.
Hat Riot book.
Yes.
And I would say both fiction and nonfiction because I like anything for that age range. I also like adult, I like fantasy. I like Sarah J. Maas.
Oh, yeah. Me too.
And on my more nerdy side, I love science. So, if you want a book about genetics or
So you can join our Mary Roach Club.
I love Mary Roach.
Yes, we're all massive Mary Roach
In fact,
fans.
And
were
shout out
you
to Sam
there when you
Keen.
brought her when they brought her to Westerville? Because I came in fangirled.
So we rotate what night, and when I worked at Westerville, what nights we worked, and that was my night to work.
Oh,
and
I'm so sorry.
I did not get to go.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
But you know what? Another time.
Another time. Maybe it'll be our turn next to bring Mary Roach.
Yeah,
You never know.
She can come to Columbus again. That's fine. Delaware specific.
We're cool.
That we are cool. Well, we just have a minute or two left. So let's talk about some of the things coming up this week at the library. Mark brought up a wonderful point. Thank you, Mark.
Yes.
That our friends of the library are having a pop-up book sale tomorrow at, so that's Saturday, June 29th. That's at the Delaware Main Library. It's only a pop-up sale, so it's only in the garage. They'll be there from 9 to 3. And they have really great deals. You can buy one bag, and it's one of those big green kind of like canvas tote bags with a really nice wide gusset at the bottom. You can fill that entire bag to the brim for $25.
And they encourage you to. They really want you to take as many books as you can get in there. They're really trying to get you to shove that thing full.
Yeah. You can join and you can be a member, or you can buy one book at a time. But yeah, it's a really great deal, and they need the books off the shelves.
Yes,
so
they
come
do.
help them.
And, I want to point out a program we have coming up at our Delaware Main Library. Tuesday, July 2nd, we have a program called the Caregiver Toolbox, Accessing Aging Resources. It's from 1 to 2 at our main branch, and it's presented with the Central Ohio Area Agency on Aging and gives you resources that are out there. I feel like this is a time in our lives that we don't have a lot of that information, and we're stepping into with our parents, and they're going into. So come in, get some tools for your toolbox so you can make this a more enjoyable season.
I'm not at that season in my life yet, but I know many people are. So that night, also Tuesday, July 2nd, I'm going to go down to the Orange Branch Library, and I'm going to see the Upside Down Fairy Town presented by River City Puppets.
That is where you are.
That program is happening from 5:30 to 6:30 at the Orange Branch Library. It's going to be so much fun. They are doing the River City Puppets does a great puppet show. It's not what you think it is with, like somebody holding their hand up and saying like, hello, it's much, much better.
And I still love it if somebody holds their hand up and says, hello.
Okay.
I'm still in for it. I'm in for it.
All right. Well, that's about all we have time for today. We are so happy that you joined us this morning. Find out everything you need to know at DelawareLibrary.org. By the way, DelawareLibrary.org has a new navigation, a new layout.
Yes, it does.
So go check it out and see what it looks like on your phone, on your desktop. And if you have any confusion, just call and ask one of our librarians. They can help you out.
I'm very excited to see it.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Lisa, it was such a pleasure having you with us this morning.
Thank you.
This
Come
was
visit
the
me.
First time. It won't be the last, I'm sure.
You should have the hordes coming in now.
Yes. Molly, as always, thank you.
I always enjoy being here.
Mark, have a wonderful weekend.
I will.
And until next week, we will see you in the stacks.